Welcome back to Diary of a Speed Reader. Today's book is A Death-Struck Year by Makaii Lucier, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. Now, this is my first fiction book in a while, and it is in the field of health and wellness in the sense that it goes through what happened during the pandemic of 1918 in fiction format. It uses so much information relative to the books that I read that were nonfiction in this realm. I gotta say, it's a pretty good depiction. I think what's striking is that this book was written some 6 years ago, and yet it has so many parallels to what we're seeing today. I'm going to go through 3 things that were particularly interesting. But before we do that, I'm almost through the 100 books in 100 days challenge on Instagram, and I'm going to be moving to YouTube. It would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will leave instructions below. Now let's get into why this might be a great choice if you're quarantined like I am. The first thing has to do with the idea that, something like influenza, it doesn't really care who you are. This book goes through, wealthy people that are affected by it, poor people that are affected by it, and the whole gambit in between in every color on the rainbow, and how people then react, come together, get confused. I think it's really, really fascinating to see that depicted. The second thing has to do with some of the social distancing, and yet that doesn't make us distant from each other as people in a human world. And in that regard, you've got all of the social distancing of people holing up and quarantining in their homes. You've got people hoarding. You've got the library without any books as people try to get media in advance of this period where people are going to hunker down. But you also have the Red Cross going door to door, making sure people are okay and have the facts on what to do, especially if they've got newborn children or young children. You've got folks wanting to take the protagonist of this story in once they realize that she's all by herself. And it's just really amazing to see how the world comes together and is capable of great acts of kindness, even in a bad time. Now, the last thing really is a great reminder of how to think about vaccines. In 1918, they had kind of an imperfect vaccine. In fact, they didn't even know what a virus was in 1918 because they didn't really have microscopes to tell the difference between virus and bacteria. Book doesn't really talk about that, but what I will say is it does discuss the idea that vaccines are ineffective if you're already sick. I think that's what people sometimes don't understand. A vaccine comes before a cure most of the time, and that vaccine is not going to protect you if you're already ill. The second thing really has to do with the way that vaccines come online. It's always going to be a smaller sample at first, and that really should go to our frontline people who have been working hard in the hospitals to keep people safe and to try to take palliative measures so people can survive the influenza. It's kind of amazing to see the parallels, and I think it's really interesting if you're trying to use your reading to help inform the things that you're seeing today. That said, I don't want people to freak out if they read this book. There's a lot of changes in medical science from 1918 to current times, and I do have a book review on Influenza 1918 that kind of talks about that. So you may want to just have a look at that if you decide on this book so that you don't freak out. Speed reading stats, this book was 288 pages. It took me 1 hour and 5 minutes to read. If you'd like to learn more about speed reading, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, going to my YouTube page and subscribing. Stay healthy, and I will see you tomorrow.